Welcome to OverHERD at Career Education. This is a twice-monthly outreach from the Office of Career Education. Today we are starting a new segment called Student Spotlight. We hope to use Student Spotlight to talk about students here at MU who are doing awesome things and starting early on moving toward their career goals. Today I have with me Morgan Johnson, who has taken advantage of some great opportunities this year despite all of the craziness that has been going on. And it just goes to show that regardless of circumstances, there are opportunities out there, and to not use that as an excuse to not look for things. So I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Morgan. I'm going to let her introduce herself and give some background information. So Morgan, if you can, would you introduce yourself a bit to us and give us some background information, so like hometown and things like that?
Yeah, of course. My name is Morgan Johnson. I was born in D.C., but I currently live in the Eastern Panhandle in the nice city of Martinsburg. I'm a Hedgesville High School graduate as of 2019, and now I am a Marshall undergrad student. I am a mechanical engineering major and a Jaeger scholar.
Oh, excellent. Thank you so much. And I'll go ahead and tell everyone, prior to hitting record, Morgan and I were chatting, and I'm a Berkeley County person myself, and I also, for 2 years prior to relocating to this area, did attend Hedgesville. So we hit it off talking about that, making fun of Martinsburg just a little bit. Any of you Martinsburg High School graduates, we're sorry, but we have to.
Not
so
sorry.
the shoe were on the other foot. I'm sure the same thing would happen. But it's all in good fun. So always good to connect with another Berkeley County Eastern Panhandle person. So Morgan, why did you decide to go to Marshall? Why MU of all the schools out there?
Actually, they gave me the best offer, but beyond the being able to afford college, I actually went to the campus as part of two different programs that the state has. One of them is HISTA, which is the Health Science and Technology Academy, and Marshall was the host of the Fun with Science camp. So my freshman year in high school, I got to stay in the Commons, and we just did tons of different lab work. And then we'd have fun in the evening. And I really loved the people that I got to meet, which were students that acted as our RAs. I loved the lab equipment, and that was my first time being on a college campus in an academic capacity. And then the second time I came back, of course, because once you go to Marshall, you keep coming back.
That's
and
the truth.
I was a student of the Governor's School of Arts, GSA, in 2017.
Great. And
my discipline was acting, so I got to take classes here to hone my acting skills. Then we went to Chicago. That was that was the farthest west I've ever been, and it was a really amazing time. I felt very supported, like there was family here, and both times I was able to see different sides of Marshall. And so when I was a senior in high school, that was kind of just stuck with me. I'm like, okay, Marshall is my ride or die. They're always going to be there for me. And I have no problems going to this school. So it was like a school that I really wanted to get into. And then I had only one other school, which happens to be in the same division as Marshall, which is Rice University.
Okay.
And I got into all the schools I applied for. But I was kind of looking at Marshall like, I look good in green. No, but, they pulled through for me in all ways, and especially finances, which is important as a student. But
oh, for sure.
I just had to choose Marshall, and I'm so happy I chose Marshall.
Well, that's wonderful. And I mean, I just from an employee standpoint, I think Marshall's lucky to have you too. We're glad you're here. You look like an awesome student. You seem like an awesome student, and we're going to get into that more here as we go. But it seems like one of the themes you had touched on was just, again, those early connections. So even coming here as like maybe a freshman or maybe a rising sophomore, it sounded like, and high school, and branching out early and making those connections, it led to good things down the road. And as we're going to get to, not to give away the plot, but that's not the first time you've done it either. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out, and I think that's wonderful how you found Marshall, and it's continued to be a great relationship. So speaking of taking advantage of opportunities, you recently completed an internship with Northrop Grumman. Did I say that correctly?
Northrop Grumman.
Grumman, okay.
That's all right.
It's a tomato situation? Grumman, okay. I'm like, something just tells me I'm not saying that right, so I'm happy I asked. So can you tell us more about that opportunity? And then it also led to you attending a conference this year as well. So can you just maybe kind of talk about how all those things played together and how they helped you a bit?
Yes, this is all thanks to the organization here called LSAMP. LSAMP. That one's more tomato, tomato. It stands for the Louise Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation. It's a partnership that Marshall has with University of Kentucky, Centre College, and I think another institution. And what they do is that they take us to different STEM conferences around free of charge. They support us in our STEM opportunities. It's mainly for STEM students.
Okay.
And through them, I got to go to the BEA conference, which is Black Engineer of the Year Awards, and it was in D.C. And man, oh man, that was an amazing conference.
Oh, that's great.
Goodness. Prior to that, they took us to the Women of Color STEM conference, which honored like women of color inside STEM disciplines, because there's not a lot of us in the leadership positions in that industry. But I learned so much there too. Since that was my first one, I went to a lot of the resume workshops, made sure me as a freshman could at least have a good starting point in the world of jobs that actually correlate to your major, which are very important to try and get. And that prepared me very well for BEA, because I came with a nice resume that was actually professional and not a high school one.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and got in. My cousin had a connection with Northrop, so she told me to go there and look for this person. And I was looking for them, but it turns out they weren't there. So I was like, I'm a freshman. Most of the positions that they're hiring for here are full-time. They're looking for seniors who are about to graduate, serious internships. So they're looking for juniors that have the coursework. I already felt like I wasn't going to get anything, but I still went to the career fair just to scope out like the expanse of it. And it took up like 3 whole conference rooms. Wow. 3 whole conference rooms of different booths of different organizations. Boeing was there, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, NASA was there.
Wow.
So many different companies. Texas Instruments that make the calculators that we use. Oh, goodness. It was amazing. Apple was there. I think, Apple was there. And, I just went in, had a conversation with someone turned into like kind of a semi-casual interview. Then she took me outside of the busy conference room, was like, hey, would you like to interview today? And I said, sure. Like, yes. I'm just going to see how far I can get, Got an interview time with Northrop Grumman. This is the first day of the conference. Already got an interview. Met a couple of high-ranking executives. They talked to us about the James E. Webb Telescope, which is amazing, and a multi-billion-dollar project. I went in for my interview. I think it went pretty well. I bonded with her. She asked me some specific engineering questions, which was very new to me, but I'm glad I had enough coursework and, logic from my coursework to be able to answer the questions adequately. And I got a position working at their California facility in Redondo Beach as a mechanical engineer, specifically a vehicle engineer, inside of their aircraft section of the company. And it was amazing. 10-week internship. It seems like a lot, but it really happened in a blur, and I was so very happy. Got an offer on the spot, and it just kind of validated me. And I if anyone knows me, I'm the first one to say, you don't need external validation, blah blah blah. But really, when you're coming out of high school and you're in college and you're doing your coursework, especially for a major like engineering, where you can learn a lot in college, but still go into the workplace and be completely overwhelmed. There's always going to be a learning curve of some sort. And just being validated, like, I don't even have that much coursework as some of the juniors here, as some of the seniors here, but I have enough of the soft skills. I have enough of what I have to be able to get a position. And I didn't go to the conference to, just hang out in DC. That was fun. I did that, yes, but I was serious. I think that's something that will differentiate someone who's just messing around versus someone who is actually walking through the doors that are open for them. You don't want to you don't want to take your time just because you want to have fun.
Right.
I think a lot of people my age, well, I won't say a lot of people, but it's just, it feels like it's more acceptable and actually praised to just mess around, have fun. And yeah, it's okay to have fun. But if you down the road is wondering, man, why didn't I do that? Then was it really worth having fun? Was it really worth messing around that much for it? I like to think of me doing things in advance for myself. So I want to think future. So like I show future me thanks. No, the future me shows past me thanks.
No, I got you.
Yeah. So I gave that first day of the conference to just trying to find something, trying to learn something, picking up any gems that I could possibly get as probably one of the youngest people like that would be on Northrop's team, because I was the youngest, but also being like someone who I know this conference wasn't like geared towards.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a lot you can pick up being in spaces where everyone has doctorates and you are still an undergrad, or being in spaces where everyone is so much more advanced in anything than you. And I was there ready to pick up whatever they were willing to give me, and they gave me a lot. But I worked with it, so I'm glad that I got the opportunity. But I have to point that out, because some people feel like people that get big opportunities are people that have always been getting opportunities, that have always gotten everything they want. There's a common denominator between those people, and it's hard work and discipline. Because motivation is fleeting, but you must have discipline. You have to be able to say, okay, I'm going to set this time aside. I'm going to actually, wow, I got this. Okay, I need to get into serious mode, game mode. I think that's important. I don't know how to end that sentence, but yeah.
Well, those are wonderful thoughts, Morgan. I just love listening to you talk about that. And there's a few really good themes, I think, that you had mentioned. And I think one of those is like seizing opportunities. And I know that's something in my life, especially when I was a student, I always kind of thought, well, I'm not the best or the brightest or whatever, and you just don't even try. And what is it? What's the quote? You miss 100% of the shots you don't make. Wayne Gretzky / Michael Scott, right? If you watch that show.
Office, yes.
Which I'm an Office nut. I'd probably run the risk of talking about too much on here, so I have to be careful of that. But it really is true. And I think a lot of times I've been guilty of that myself, is I don't think I'm going to make the shots. I'm not even going to try to make the shot. And that's one of the things that stuck out to me about you, is you made the shot. You know, you made the shot, but also that requires, okay, I'm going to try this shot, and you did, and you slam dunked it. It sounds like. So that's incredible. And I also liked how you talk about how you talk about the importance of hard work, because I think I was like this too. I think it's the trap that students can fall into, thinking, well, I've got the rest of my life to do this and to do that, and definitely
you really don't when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly we're never guaranteed tomorrow, so I mean, there's a lot of different angles to, and I'm one too. I mean, I think you can make a good case for taking a relaxing day here and there, and you probably should. But I think there's also an issue I see sometimes. I was kind of like this. I think we see it sometimes in students of delaying responsibilities and things, and wanting to put it off as long as we can, and that's the opposite of what I see in you. I mean, you seize the day, and when you do that, good things happen. So it's honestly, it's just, I just think of it as like how soon can you get started, and it's just a way to get ahead of the pack. And it sounds like you were taking every chance to do that you can, and I applaud you for that. And it sounds like good things are happening.
My parents instilled that in me. I can only give thanks to them, and God, of course.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yes, absolutely.
But you don't have to have those things. If you don't believe in God, or if you don't really have parents or guardians that you can look up to, you don't need those things to get to even farther than where I am now. You seriously, it's discipline. It's being able, like, even when you don't want to get up and do it, you gotta have the discipline to be able to say, okay, I don't want to do this, but I need to do this. If I want to get anywhere near my goals, if I want to get anywhere near my goals soon, I need to turn it around. Hard work doesn't have to be boring. Hard work does not have to be boring. Sometimes it will be, but having that discipline will just put those habits in you. So even when you don't feel like doing it, you get up, do it, then you can go on about your day or whatever else you were doing. the sooner you do it, the sooner you can relax.
Yeah. Yeah, good thoughts. And something that popped into my mind when you were saying that is if it's hard. I mean, that's I think is probably the very definition of discipline is doing things that don't feel good now. I would say probably in the hopes of a bigger payoff later. Because if I followed what felt good in the moment, I'd never leave my couch, and I'd just have bags of pizza rolls laying around me, and I just do nothing but watch. If I followed what felt good in the moment, that's all my life would be. So
I feel that. Some days those are needed. Just a Netflix, couch, pizza rolls.
Yeah, it's the good moderation, but that's all you do. That's never a good thing. Oh man, so let's see here. You also belong to a number of organizations. So can you tell us more about how participations in those organizations has helped you? And I know you've already touched on that a little bit. I think you mentioned LSAMP and a couple others, but maybe just tell us a little bit more about that if you can.
Yes. Organizations that I am part of, they're definitely what helped me get through my freshman year, being quite a few hours away from home, like 5 or 6 hours away from home. And I've never been the type to get homesick, but I always miss home cooked food. I really do. I miss my mom's food, always miss my dad's food, even though it's very over seasoned. But love you, Dad. But being part of these organizations kind of helped close the gap between just new area, new people. Oh no, I have to make friends. How am I going to be? Who can I go to for support when I want a home cooked meal? When I want someone to tell me, like, to remind me of who I am. I found those in these groups. So I'm part of the Society of Jaeger Scholars. I'm a member of the 33rd class.
Oh, that's great.
So I have 7 other Jaeger Scholars that are my age, all doing rigorous coursework, held to pressures of like being a A student and then coming to college where A's mean something a little bit different than they did in high school.
Yeah.
It's really nice to talk with them and to also know that we're all in this 33rd class together. And to expand on that, the whole of the Jaeger Scholars classes, they're all there for me to talk to ask advice about. If anyone took classes with the teachers that I will be taking, just some advice. Having that has actually been a huge part of me adapting to the college atmosphere. I'm also part of LSAMP, so being with like-minded individuals in my major who are all trying to succeed, get internships. I wasn't the only one that got an internship during that conference. There were a few others that got really great ones. Yeah, and that camaraderie is priceless. Speaking of camaraderie, I'm also part of the Society of Black Scholars, which is just another family. My goodness, Mr. Cooley is amazing. They know who they are. It's a really great society. We get to see different things, hang out together, see the history of Huntington that we never would have known if we didn't have each other. Also, just being there for each other as Black students, like a minority students in a small university that's majority white or like majority different, even though we may be from the same places as our white counterparts or like from the same income bracket or whatever. It's just nice to have a group of people that you can talk to about some things that you're not comfortable talking about with other people on campus. Also, I'm part of the role-playing club.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we play D&D mainly, and I had never even played D&D prior to coming to college. Tried it out because I met a few people during WoW Week. I went to their booth, and it's amazing. Let me tell you, you think about the stereotypes associated with people who play D&D, and I can assure you that those are not true. These are some of the most well-spoken, imaginative, creative leaders. They are natural leaders. They're amazing people. Oh, my goodness. The way their mind works, like the DMs, the dungeon masters, they have to create this whole entire story, and it has to be able to adapt like that. If the party of people decides to do something different from what they planned, and it's really an art form. They have also been a huge family. I'm so thankful for having met them. We all bond over different things, not just D&D. So it's just a really nice social club. Those organizations are the ones that, they're not a lot, but I'm very involved in all of them, which I think is important. To be able to give your all to the ones that you join. Don't just join ones and give half. But yeah, so I'm thankful for all of those organizations. They've really shaped me into the person I am now, like adult wise, just gave me some gems into becoming an adult and speaking when you're scared and using your imagination, staying young at heart, even when college kind of wants you to grow up and be stoic.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think you see that in life too. I mean, just when you, just day in, day out, I think life can beat you down if you let it. And even if you're doing something you enjoy, I mean, you have stressful times and times where you're just like, oh my goodness, I just need a break. I think finding those outlets, those things you enjoy, those relationships too, they can help not only keep you at your best, they can really help you when things get a little bit rough. And that's just a matter of time till that's going to happen to any of us. We need that, support system and that push and matters like that. So that's wonderful. It's wonderful. So what advice would you give to a student who isn't convinced that they need to do things? We've talked about internships, attending the conference, the organizations. I think you've already touched on this a little bit, and it's been wonderful. But again, if there's anything you'd want to add. So you run into a student who's just, they don't see the value in those things. What advice might you give them?
I believe I would say, it's just like voting. If you don't speak for yourself, someone will speak for you. Do you want that? If you don't do it for yourself, who's going to do it for you? And seriously, you got to think about that. Who is, if you have a goal to be, living on the West Coast with 3 dogs and a huge house and beautiful people that you could spend time with, and you have a huge closet, any of those material things, or if you want to be spiritually in balance, if you want to be emotionally supported, if you want to be mentally strong, if you don't put in the time to get there, who is going to put in the time for you? Nobody. Nobody. Right. And I don't mean that in a pessimist way or negative way, but really, if you want anything for yourself, you are the only one that can actually take the steps to get there. People come and go, and not in a bad way, but people come, they can help you, but they can't necessarily stay, right? Because that could be at the expense of themselves. And it's not fair of you to just think that other people will take care of you. If you want anything from this world and you want it for yourself, you need to make sure that you're doing something. Even if you really don't want to do it, even if it's just out of spite, it's fine. But you have to realize that if you don't do anything, who's going to do it for you? The answer is most likely no one. No one can read your mind and know what you want. And even when you get what you want, you're going to want more. Yeah. Or maybe it's not going to be what you thought you wanted. And no one's going to know that if, you didn't do it for yourself, because they're doing it for you. It's going to be a misunderstanding. So to anybody that feels kind of lost or feels idle, idleness is not okay. It's not okay. It is okay if you don't want anything from life, but I feel like humans are meant for more than just existing. So if you want to live, you got to put the steps in to do it yourself, because if you don't put the steps in to live, no one else is going to put it in the steps to make you live, one of those things. I hope that wasn't too negative, but that's just a reality that I at least have acknowledged.
Oh no, that was really good. And actually, it lines up very closely with what I've told students before. I think is life advice. You did a very good job, and man, you're wise for a student your age. You're very wise. As
You
a
think
side
so?
note, I'll point that out. But even from a jobs interviewing standpoint, I've always told students when you go to interview for a job, you have to advocate for yourself, because the other people interviewing for the job, they're going to advocate for themselves. They're not going to advocate for you. The person doing the hiring, they're worried about themselves. They want to make the best hire that it can. They're not going to advocate for you. So who does that leave? And it's kind of the same principle. I think you applied it more to life in general, not just job interviewing, and you did a wonderful job at that. But no, I totally agree with you. Yeah, you got to put in the time and the effort, and yeah, don't expect it to be done for you, and almost always it will not be. Totally agree with that.
It's not to say that the world is selfish, but more so you must be assertive, because but that's just important. I don't have the vocabulary, I guess, to verbalize what I'm trying to say in a way that's opposite from negative. But you got to be assertive. You can be shy and still be assertive. You can be introvert and still be assertive. You got to stick up for yourself, because like you said, if you don't, who will? The company's not going to spend their money on some of these higher end positions like engineers that can get paid $70,000 or something just straight out of college. That's a lot of time and money and resources and information that they're investing in you. So you have to prove that you're someone worth being invested in. That's very important.
Ooh, that's very well put. Very well put. Yeah. And I like the phrase too, advocate for yourself. And it's just, again, not to sound negative, but just it's a busy world with a lot of messages, and you can get lost. You can get lost in the shuffle. So you sometimes, what they say about the squeaky wheel and the grease, sometimes you got to be a little bit of a squeaky wheel.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease.
That's right. That's all we're getting at. So, and again, you touched on this a little bit, but can you tell us a couple of your habits to keep you at your best as a student? And in particular, I think you'd mentioned the importance of discipline, but maybe go into a little bit more detail. What habits keep you at your best?
I am a very free person. I like to just live my day without schedules, and I know that about myself. So I try to make sure that whenever I get assignments, I hop on them immediately. Okay. So I guess the first habit I want to talk about is making sure as soon as you get things, you keep them at the forefront of your mind. If you get an assignment, hop on it, do that assignment, even if it's just a little bit of it. Have at least a little bit of it done, so that if you're prone to procrastination like I am, I will admit, you won't be rushing to get the entire thing done. If you need to read something, go ahead and read like 5 pages, read 10 pages, put a timer on for 30 minutes and just read. Completely focus on reading. Sometimes you might get interested in the material. You might get pulled in. You might make some epiphanies, and that 30 minutes is kind of like, after it's done, you're kind of like, I can squeeze 2 more pages in. I can get to the next chapter. And just building those things on top of each other, you become a more disciplined, less prone to procrastination. And that's what worked for me. I had to work on that all freshman year, because college is no joke. And this year, with it being virtual, I've been finding it harder to stay as focused, because I'm in my room, I'm in my dorm room, or I'm just on campus. I'm not in a classroom where the entire purpose for me being there is to learn. So there's just way too many distractions for me. There's things I can play with on my desk, my phone, social media, videos, Netflix. Netflix.
For sure.
And while it'd be fun to watch a Netflix show while a virtual lecture is going on, because it's recorded and I can watch it later, I have to be able to say, okay, we're going to gear our focus here. Let's just give this focus for an hour, 30 minutes, however long the lecture is. And anything I don't get, I can go back and write it down in the notes. And that's what I've been doing so far, just listening intently to the lecture, and then going back, watching the recording, and actually writing the notes from there, so that I at least hear it twice. It can stick. I have a lot of hard classes this semester. And I think discipline is the thing that will separate the students that will get the A's, B's, high C's this semester versus the students that will maybe check out also this semester. The circumstances are very different from traditional ones, so I think it's even more important and imperative to get yourself on a habit, on a schedule. It really works. And even if you don't like schedules, just having it for the 5 days or the 4 days or even three of your busiest days during the school week is so much more constructive than just flying by the day, going with the flow, even though I love to do that.
Right.
I reserve that for Tuesdays and Thursdays where I only have one class. And the weekends, Friday night or maybe Saturday morning, I'll take the time, finish up all the work that I need to do that I didn't do during the week, and then I have a free weekend, and I like that. I like to relax on Sunday. I like my relaxation. So, and it's sweeter when you're not doing it every single day, you know? It's kind of like, yeah, the weekend, that's my time. Those are a couple of my habits.
Oh, okay, excellent. Yeah, and I kind of like what you said. You talked about scheduling, and me, I'm probably an overscheduler, so I struggle with that a little bit differently. But yeah, I think you touched on something really interesting too. Is scheduling? It's there either can be ups and downs with that, but do we schedule stuff do we write it down so we can put it off until the very last moment? Because I kind of like. You ever think about that? Because you talked about the importance of jumping on things immediately, and I think a lot of times we're so schedule bound so that we can procrastinate as long as possible without consequence, at least in our mind. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
it does.
So I had a professor in college. He told us is like a lot of people just write down notes so they can forget about stuff until a convenient time, meaning the night before the exam, meaning you didn't really you wrote it to not even process the information, but you wrote it so you could throw your notebook in a corner and look at it the evening before an exam and like, shoot. so no, I really, just the initiative and just thinking ahead and jumping on stuff and not putting it off. I love what you said about that.
Your future self will thank you.
That's
your future self will thank you.
And that goes back to that wisdom. I told you were very wise. Yeah, when you that implies you have some wisdom if you're thinking about the future self. And I've told students that in presentations, do things when you get to be my age that you'll thank yourself for. Let your 30-something-year-old self thank you for the things you're doing now, because odds are your 30-something-year-old self is going to thank you or curse your name. So when that time rolls around, so do things to make you thank yourself. So any others? I think we're kind of winding down here. Like I say, I want to go a couple more minutes here. Do you have any other words of advice for students? Any other parting words or thoughts or anything like that?
I just want to reiterate that I didn't get here with as many successes that I have. And I acknowledge them with humility, but also being confident in my skills. I worked really hard to get here and to get all the things and titles that I have. But those didn't come without an almost equal amount of failures. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to fail. It's okay to take that week of restoration that you need. But you don't want to stop. I think it's important that despite the things that aren't going right, you got to find what you've gained from every loss. There's always something to be gained within a loss. Take the time, if you're listening, take the time and kind of figure out what you want. What do you want out of school, out of your career, out of your relationships? Take the time to kind of make a few goals or things that you want to feel. And put the time in to work towards them. If you don't know where to start, talk about your goals with someone. It's a way to take initiative for your life. And in this environment, in this climate, in this society, where people who aren't taking initiative are being taken advantage of, I want as many people as possible to be able to speak for themselves, to do for themselves. Because like we said earlier, if you don't do something for yourself, who's going to do it? And if someone is very happy to take up the helm on doing it for you or speaking for you, is it really someone that you want representing you? Is it really someone you want making changes on your life? You got to think about that.
So,
go out and vote.
What was that?
Go out and vote.
Go out and vote. I can't reiterate that enough. Absolutely. And yeah, just Yeah, just a very important. Yeah, make your voice heard. Yeah, voting civically and otherwise, and just advocate for yourself. And there's a common theme in all that. You gotta just make your voice heard. You got a voice. I teach Com 103 public speaking, and that's one of the things I'm more interested in. I don't necessarily care if students leave the class knowing who Aristotle was, and we talk about him. But if a student doesn't remember who Aristotle was, I can live with that. I want students thinking about how they use their voice, how they use it civically, how they use it professionally, how they use it personally, and so on and so forth. And watching students grow in confidence in that's probably one of the most rewarding things that's ever happened in my career. I mean, personal successes and failures, which have been plenty aside, I don't think anything beats, watching someone, find their voice and learn how to use it. So. I was going to tell you real quick too. If I think you're a wonderful aspiring engineering student, but I think if you ever get tired of that or want to moonlight, I think you could be a motivational speaker in your spare time. If you ever get tired of engineering, I think you have a promising possible second career in that if you ever wanted it. So
I don't know. I think I'd become pretty repetitive, like a broken record saying the same things.
Well, I don't know. Some motivational speakers, they do that and they get thousands of dollars per speaking gig. So
maybe.
So they're good at it and they make money at it. So, but regardless, I mean, I think your words of wisdom have been very helpful for our students today, and I really appreciate you joining me again. And then thank you all for joining us too for OverHERD at Career Education. Again, this is a twice monthly outreach from the Office of Career Education. I really hope that you've been inspired by Morgan's story. Our goal this year is to have a student spotlight segment every month to highlight students who are doing great things. So thank you all again for joining us, and we hope to see you back here next time.
Yep. Have a great day.